Welcome to the Awakening Women podcast. I'm your host, Leanne Oaten, and for almost a decade, I have been a transformation coach and therapist. This podcast is all about lifting the veil of consciousness and awakening to the truth. It is also about helping you to raise the bar in all areas of your life and relationships by starting with you. If you're ready to take back your personal power and reclaim your life, you have come to the right place. I'm so glad that you're here, so let's get started with today's episode. All right, so this is a mix of an update, some things that are present right now, some things that have come up through chatting with other women, connecting with some of you on Instagram, polling, chatting in groups, and talking with my clients, even former clients, about what it is that you're needing now, what some of you are needing now if you are on the other side of a narcissistic relationship that you've left. And you're within that first year-ish, could be a little less or it could be more, slightly more, but just really those first months and that first year of leaving, there's so much that comes up. And that is usually around the time where a lot of women end up having another relationship within that year, dating at least, and then dealing with all of that goes with it, which can be really difficult to navigate when you have come out of a traumatic, abusive, manipulative relationship. So when I'm talking to my clients mainly, that's where I get a lot of really good insight as to what you're struggling with at this stage. And what I've heard many women saying is that reading stories of abuse and being reminded of what they've experienced is very triggering and can take them back into their old coping mechanisms or really set them back in their healing. And I myself experienced that same thing, along with having difficulty writing about it and talking about it. Sometimes it's not easy to do. I'm able to do it because I'm in a better place now. Like I feel really good and solid in myself. But it also at the same time is something that I'm feeling less and less compelled to want to talk about. I want to talk about how do you get out of these situations? And I know I've been doing that all along with my podcasts. My branding and my whole message has been around like, don't sit in it. Like you got to move through it. And what I've been aware of and seeing, especially with one-to-one clients or women that actually invest in my programs and show up and get coaching and do the work and show up and keep going when it's hard, they are the ones that experience the exponential growth in a short, rapid period of time, sometimes within weeks. Sometimes it's within like a couple of one-to-one sessions or just a few minutes getting coaching with me on a group call. So I know the power of coaching, and I have a coach. I have other support systems, right? So I get it. But it is also that I feel very confident in my abilities because I have the training as a counselor, background in counseling psychology, plus 10 plus years of working in practice and coaching and running groups. So, and personal experience with everything we talk about here on the podcast. So that all combined, I feel like I am quite skilled at what I do. And I know that just from the feedback I get from my clients when they tell me what working with me is like. So off on a side note there, I was having a conversation with a client this morning that really reminded me that there's other women like her and like other women that I've spoken to that are in that place where they're in chat rooms, you are in groups, or you're hearing stories, you're reading stories and getting triggered, and it's not helpful to the healing process. Like you're ready to move past it, and you feel like you're just constantly spinning the same record. Like you don't know what it looks like to actually move past it because you've been in it for so long. You're past that initial level of awareness of what you're experiencing or what you experienced. Like you know that. And so reading those stories can be very triggering. The other thing that can happen is when you're in a new relationship, you're in that hypervigilant state, and sometimes you think that you're experiencing the same things. If maybe you read a story of someone who maybe experienced something with a grain of similarity to what you've experienced. And so then you're off thinking you're in the same experience. So I think it's not helpful once you're past those initial stages of awareness and you are like, you're pretty sure, like it doesn't take much to know that there's a problem. You can check off all kinds of different crazy making stuff that's going on. You feel crazy, you feel confused, something's off, you're very anxious, you don't feel good in the relationship, you're not happy in the relationship. All these things start to happen. So if you're pretty certain, then it's time to move into action, right? So if you're in the stage where you've already left, or you're just in that final stage where you know you need to get out, you're working on it, you've got a plan, you've got a strategy. This is where I actually really love working with women, is when they're in this stage, because you're ready for that growth. You're needing that push and that accountability to keep taking steps toward that so you don't sink back into the patterns. And I would say all women that I've ever worked with privately, mainly, probably a lot of women that join my groups as well, we're high achievers. We are high functioning. We get shit done. We are very capable. We're really capable of doing all the things. And so we think that joining a program or getting coaching isn't tangible, that what we need to do is actually like hoard our money to the side in case we need to leave, because at least that's something we can see and that feels like we're actually doing something, when in fact you could be doing that for years and not actually growing, changing, or moving forward. You're still in the same cycle, but you think you're doing something because you're hoarding money on the side to leave. Now, is putting money aside part of a strategy? Yes. But so is having accountability, support, community, growth-centered support and coaching, mentoring from someone who's been there that also has an educational background to guide you in the right way. So you need all of those things and more. You need a strategy, you need a process, you need a plan, and focusing on those empowering steps. And I see women just courageously showing up to do that, even when it is hard, even when there is fear, even when they doubt if they have the money to join or that they should put the money in to join. When they do it, they know this is the best thing I could have done for myself, because I know I could be stuck in this for a very long time. They also know that doing the work now means less struggle on the other side. So all this to say, I right now have enrollment going for the next couple of days for my introductory 6-month Healing Women support group. So this is going to be the next iteration of Awakening Women, where it is for women who you're either in those final stages of leaving, like you're leaving, you've got a plan of action, like there's no more of this, I'm not sure what I want to do anymore. It's like, I know I'm getting out of this situation. I need a plan, I need support, I need the push, or I need to reach certain milestones, whatever. You're leaving. But it's for you if that's the conversation is no longer, is this going to change? Is he going to change? Your conversation is like, how am I growing past this and getting out of here? So if you're in that stage, or you have left and you're within that first year-ish of leaving, then this mastermind support group is for you. If you're seeing Instagram posts around narcissistic abuse triggering, or you're in Facebook groups where that's all that's being talked about, and you're around women who are still stuck in the story, this is like, honestly, for me, I have compassion, but there gets to a point where I see the same women in my free groups who have never purchased a single thing from me. They've been lingering in my free stuff for years. The same stories, the same complaints, experiencing the same things, even though they're in therapy. They think that that's doing something when clearly it's not if you're still in the same place. You've left the relationship and you're still regurgitating the same stories. You've left the relationship and you're saying you can't quit him or let him go or move on. Why? So obviously your therapy isn't working if that's you, and I'm just saying it's tough love. Like, if you are lingering in free groups just to share your stories of victimization, you're never going to change. You're going to stay stuck in that role, and you will just attract more toxic people to you. You have to be what you want to bring in. What you want to have in a relationship, you need to be it first. If you are still stuck in victimization, I'm the victim, and you think going to weekly therapy is going to change your situation when you're finding yourself exactly in the same place, like, ask yourself, how is that working for me? If you've left the relationship and you still feel like you're in it, or that you're being controlled by them and manipulated by them and your life is chaos because of them and you've left, something is very, very wrong and you need to clean up your own crap. So going to therapy, sure, it has its place. I do not go religiously, like every week, to just go rehash. I go in to address certain specific things I want to move forward with. Like I literally keep phone notes and I go in with my agenda. My therapists always love me because they're like, you are just so organized. You take what you get and you go home and you practice it and you keep moving forward. So yes, I've always been in and out of therapy since I was a teenager. I see the value in it, but it's not enough on its own. It just simply is not enough on its own. You use it as a tool, as an outlet, but it's not the only thing you're doing. So it's kind of like you're going to a doctor every time you have a headache and they give you a pill. You take the pill, you go home, the headache goes away for a little while, but you don't change anything about your lifestyle or your stress management, or maybe it's something you're eating, or your blood sugar is imbalanced, or you have a hormone imbalance, or inflammation, or something's going on in your life that's triggering it, something emotionally. You're not looking at any of that. And so going to therapy every week to just dump your victim stories and rehash your trauma stories is kind of like taking that headache pill. It helps for a little while because you're like, oh, glad I got that out. But nothing ever changes. Just like if you don't discover the root cause of your headaches and you keep taking Advil or whatever it is, you're not getting to the root cause. Like I've always had that mindset, like what's causing this ongoing symptom? Like there's got to be something, right? Like even if it's menstrual migraines that are rooted in like your cycle, which is something I've struggled with since I was about 15 when I started getting migraines. And they got so bad at certain points that I couldn't get out of bed, or I'd have days that were just complete write-offs because I was suffering so much with them. And now to this day, if I get one, it's very, very mild. And yes, I can take an Advil to just continue on, but they have exponentially improved because I've changed my life. I'm not experiencing the same stressors as I was ongoing for the 28 years, or, ever since I was a teenager, dealing with stressful relationship situations, we'll say. I've changed a lot of things about my life, and so I'm not getting those anymore. But I could have just carried on with my life how I was doing it, got some stronger painkillers or some of those medications that prevent migraines. And I'm not saying that there isn't a place for medications. Of course there is, but we need to also look at what's going on and deal with the holistic cause. So long story short, when you're just going to therapy, it's not enough. And I'm talking about just for your own healing too, if you've left. It's not helpful in an abusive relationship. It's not going to help a narcissistic person. Couples therapy is not going to help. It's going to make you think you're doing something, but you're really not. The real issues of the abuse is not being dealt with. When you go to therapy, you are sometimes just going and retelling old stories. It might help for a little bit, maybe you feel good for a little while, or maybe it can make you feel worse if the therapist isn't skilled enough to move you out of that state at the end of the session. So it could be all different types of scenarios, but it's not helpful. It's not the only thing we do to try to resolve our pain. We need to come at it with a holistic framework, a holistic approach, because that's only dealing with the cognitive, the talking, which is part of processing and healing. But there's more. So the way I see it is education plus self-awareness plus accountability, self-accountability, 100%. I am accountable. I own this. I own my life. I own my experience. I own everyone that's in it. I own where I'm at. I have to see that I have created this situation. I'm not responsible for them, but I have to look at this and go, this is on me. I have allowed myself to get here, sure unknowingly, sure unconsciously, but still, you have to get to that level. There's no way we can change if we're still blaming the narcissist. Plus strategy, plus challenge, plus support equals transformation. So the support part of the equation when you go to therapy is taken care of. But oftentimes the education, sometimes the self-awareness, if you have a really good therapist that brings you back into practice of self-awareness, not necessarily accountability with therapy, probably not strategy, and they often aren't going to challenge you a whole lot. Maybe some really skilled ones do. But that's the framework that I use when I'm working with women in my programs and when I'm coaching them or working one-to-one, is we're dealing with all of those pieces at the same time. So we need a holistic view of the problem as much as a holistic approach to solving it. This is why when I went into practice with my new therapy practice, my business was centered around holistic therapy because I wanted to come at it from that approach where I saw most other therapists were not. They're just dealing with like, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. You need a pill, like go on an antidepressant. Again, I'm not saying there isn't a place for those medications, but alone on its own, it's not enough, right? We have to take a holistic view of the problem, how we created it, and how do we solve it. So I know hearing some women's experiences, it can be validating to a point at times. But after you've crossed that initial threshold and you're really ready to move forward, these stories can set you back to your older self and it can feel really difficult to keep moving forward. And this is why I wanted to start a new program that's for you if you're growth oriented. You're a high achiever, you're ready to move forward, you want to join a higher level group of women who are ready to move beyond that reality. Like, it's not to shame anyone who are still stuck in that, because we all are stuck in that at some point. But this is for the next levelers who are ready to level up, who are ready to grow and challenge each other and come together to find solutions, to evolve, to move beyond, to thrive. You're no longer wanting to dabble in the minutia of the nonsense anymore. You're ready to move beyond it. You feel something inside of you that wants to expand and move beyond what you've known. And that's what we're doing in this new 6-month Healing Women program. So what this is it's going to be my Thriving Beyond Toxic Relationships curriculum. I just ran a small group of women through that. And that is included as part of the program, but then we are also going to do live support. You will have support chat rooms that I will set up. I'm also going to start a member-only podcast series where there's going to be private podcasts that are more directive and instructional on the how-to of certain aspects. And we're going to do pop-up lives in the community where I'll just pop on if there's questions and just do a quick video and a quick check-in. And of course, it's the sisterhood and support that will radically shift your life when women come together in this desire to want to grow. It's magical. It really is. And so I want to create that next level program for you if you are ready to rise above and you are ready to get to your next level. So it is specifically for you if that's where you're at. It's for you if you are out the door, like you're 99% out the door. You just need that extra push. You're ready to start learning about what's going to happen on the other side and you're healing and you're ready to look beyond where you're at because you're done with the wallowing in it. So a quick rundown of the curriculum, aside from the support and mastermind and coaching, is we go through the aftershock of narcissistic abuse. That's the breaking the addiction and staying no contact once you've left. This is where so many women stay stuck because they still give full access to someone that they are no longer in a relationship with. So I challenge you to get really radical with cutting off contact wherever possible. And we deal with the aftershock, the emotional process, what comes up for you emotionally in that aftershock phase. That's usually within that first few months after leaving. And then we go into rewiring your nervous system, how to self-soothe, how to deal with your trauma triggers and your emotional triggers that come up, how to really take care of yourself in that so that when those things come up, you are resourced and you have some tools to use to calm yourself down, to self-soothe. And then there is how to become your own soulmate and stop looking outward for love, validation, and acceptance. And again, this is about going back to learning how to love yourself, create the life that you want, create your first foundation of wholeness before you start even considering dating or looking for someone else to bring into your life. You want to be your own source of self-love, validation, and acceptance first before you start searching for that in someone else. That's what sets us up for failure every time. And then we go into navigating the biggest challenges after leaving while staying in your power. This is the things that come up, the manipulation, and especially trying to manage kids and parenting with someone who is counter-parenting, who is not working with you. They will not work with you. There is no way to work with them unless it is in their interest, that it's something that is in it for them. They will not work with you. And this is one of the hardest things to do on the other side, is to try and parent as a team when you're the only one that's willing to do it as a team. And I want to help you navigate that. So if you can imagine you're taking these pre-recorded classes, but then you can post your questions in the group, I will answer them. You can hop on the live call. You can get in the chat rooms and get your questions on each of these classes. So it's very interactive and it's supportive while you're going through the videos on your own time. And then week 5 is identifying your traits, the traits that are within you that make you a match for toxic partners, because it's not that we attract them, it's that we feel some kind of weird draw or attraction to them. And you want to get to a place where it's repulsive, where you're like, ew, that's disgusting, and you just gaslit me, and that's gross, and I want nothing more to do with you because I'm not signing up for that. Anyone that can do that once is probably going to continue doing it over and over and over again once they think that I'm going to put up with it. So that's just an example. So I want you to identify which ones are yours. So I go into depth on the traits that women carry, that we carry, that make it that energetic match for those that will come in and take advantage and toxic, abusive men. We don't want that. We're not doing that anymore. So I want you to look at your own stuff that makes you susceptible to that. And then the final class is dating and avoiding another narcissistic or unhealthy relationship. So I dive into all of that. So again, this is where you can also ask questions and get support as you go through the curriculum over 6 months, because this is about transformation. This is not a quick fix thing. I want you to grow and evolve over the next 6 months with other women who are also focused on growing. We're no longer focused on retelling old stories, rehashing stories of abuse, feeling like victims. We are about growing and saying no more and setting boundaries and cutting off from the bullshit and moving forward with our lives. And that's what the focus of Healing Women is all about. So we are open right now for enrollment, but it closes in a couple of days, and I'm going to close it down to just focus on the women who have joined, and I'm not sure how I will enroll again or when. So if you want to be part of this preliminary group, you'll also get an introductory rate. You can click the link in the show notes to get the information, or head to leanneoten.com/healing women. All right. That rounds up this episode. I'll chat with you soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Awakening Women podcast. If you love this show and it has served you and helped you on your journey, please take a moment right now and leave a rating and review in iTunes and Spotify. If you'd like more daily content, videos, and inspiration, come on over and join me at Awakening Women Support Official over on Instagram, where we can connect and you can continue your transformation and growth journey. And I'll see you online.